Live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Joyage Kingdom. In today's episode, we have a podcast with the CMO and CCO, Chief Marketing Officer, Inverted. Let me actually pull up their stuff real quick for the CYBERKONGZ NFT. This is going to be wild. Let me see. Entire screen. Can I do that? Hell yeah. Perfect. All right, so we got the CyberKongs. I'm sure everyone who's watching this has heard of CyberKongs. This is an OG project. All the top people know it. This is that project, y'all. CyberKongs. You already know. We got Inverted on, Chief Marketing Officer. Oh shit. And then we have Henry the Great, CCO of CyberKongs. This is going to be lit. I'm really excited to bring this episode for you guys. I hope everyone's excited. Hope everyone's having a great day. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the kingdom. Let's get it on. Let's get it on. And we got two people on. 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Hey. How we doing today, Cade?
Great, man. Thanks for being on. And we had some technical difficulties off camera a few minutes ago, but we in here, we're pretending like it didn't happen. So I'm really, really excited to talk to you guys about, honestly, just the CyberKongs in general. This is a project that so many freaking people have heard about, talked about, have felt the FOMO in. I've felt the painful FOMO, especially from the babies when those launched. But honestly, I really want to not only just talk about the CyberKongs. I don't know how much time you guys have. I want to dive into a little bit behind you guys as well, if you guys are cool with that.
Hey, man, we're here for you.
Hell
Appreciate your support early on, and just here to vibe and check out what's going on.
Hell yeah, right on. Well, we can start with both of you guys, I guess, but because I haven't seen any, I usually try and like do a little bit of research before. I wasn't able to find any like podcasts that you guys have recorded. I don't know if I just have terrible research. But how did you guys get involved in NFTs, or maybe specifically with the CyberKongs? I know some people, like Betty with Deadfellas, literally her first intro to NFTs was literally starting Deadfellas, and I was like, that is crazy. But what was your intro to NFTs? Why are you in Web3?
Yeah, Henry, take it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, let's go. Thanks for having us on. My intro to Web3, I had like many people just casually invested in cryptocurrency, thinking initially that this was sort of like a stock, right? You buy it, you sell it, you get gains, you have losses, and it was the winter of 2020 when my brother and I had actually been both looking into NFTs separately, and we chatted right around Christmas of 2020 about NFTs, and we were like, "Oh man, we're both looking into this. This is really cool stuff." I'd been hearing about it, didn't quite understand how it all worked, what it all was, and so we really started diving in. And it was January of 21 that I actually got my first NFT, which was Pranksy's NFT boxes, Pranksy
Oh
and
shit.
Carlini. Yeah, that was my first project. I kind of came in from the art side of things. I was not like an OG crypto kitty breeder or
Mm.
a crypto punk guy. I love the art, and I realized quickly that there was more to it than just the art. There was the community side, and I vibed with that community. And actually, from the early Genesis boxes of NFT boxes, a lot of people really branched out from there and started to solidify themselves as I don't want to say influencers in the space, but there was a lot of people in the early days of NFT boxes that went on to have careers in Web3. So it was kind of this cool little breeding ground of some talented people, and I happened to get along with a lot of them, and I was really trying to learn what all of this was about. I was not a day one mentor of CyberKongs. I did not come into CyberKongs until it's been almost a year. It was June of 21 that I
Mm.
hooked up with Inverted, and he traded me I had a Bored Ape. I really wanted a Jenny
Wow.
Kong. Yeah. Here's what's so funny. Now people
Wow.
say, wow, actually, even then they did. People thought I was crazy,
Mm.
even at the time. Like, oh, you traded a Bored Ape for a Jenny Kong. I wanted in so bad to the CyberKongs community because it was different than every other community that I had been in. So Inverted and I have a long-standing relationship because he was the one who traded me for Henry the Grape, and I'm
Wow.
forever grateful for that.
Damn, bro. Well, shout out Inverted for not scamming you. I feel like that. I feel like anytime people try and trade, it just gets so like I get so nervous if I was ever doing anything like that, especially with a huge asset like that. Did you know him? Like, have you guys met before, or was it literally like, hey, I need to trade for this, and Inverted was like, yo, I got you.
Yeah. Yo, it was like this. This was kind of a funny story because the Bored Ape that I had, I did not know this. It was involved in it was the fuck render hack when he had lost a Bored Ape in his hack. He actually this was involved in that somehow. So when I traded it with Inverted, he was just doing it because these OGs in the CyberKongs community were trying to grow the community, and the only way you can grow the community is by bringing new people in. So
Right.
I posted saying, hey, if anybody wants to trade a Jenny Kong for an ape, Inverted being one of the the OGs in Kongs, reached out. He's like, yep, I'll do it. His intent was really just to get that that ape and sell it. He was just like, hey, I'll trade, but I know he was planning on selling it. And within a few hours of the trade, he was like, hey, I can't really sell this. There was an issue with it because OpenSea had it locked. And so I don't remember how long it took for him to actually get it sold.
Wow.
In fact, I feel like he may have had to sell it at a little bit of a loss. But I was worried that he was
over there punching the air. He's like, no, shut up.
I was so worried that he was going to ask for, to trade back because it sort of was unsellable. And I would have, but luckily he was able to get rid of it. And so began my official start in the CyberKongs ecosystem as a holder.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I just floored it and bought another Gen Kong.
Sounds right.
Damn, bro. So wait, why the crazy interest in CyberKongs? Like, I know the community was great, but to sell a Bored Ape Yacht Club is absolutely fucking nuts.
Yeah, keep this in mind. Okay, so why? I remember at the time, my brother, his name's Huda, he had said to me, hey, we need to check out CyberKongs. There's something really special going on there. And I'm like, oh, weren't those like, those pixel art? They were colorful. And he's like, yes. He's like, but they have something special going on. They're breeding. And VXs had not even been announced at that point. So really the reason I did it, I went into the Discord, and I had never, in all of the time that I had spent in Web3, I never had a community that was as accepting of new people as the CyberKongs were, and that were as willing to answer questions. Because I tell people now, back in the day, like when I started, the OGs that we looked up to, they weren't these like ultra accessible people that were there to like help you spend time. Maybe some people had that experience, but a lot of people weren't like willing to walk you through things, or if you had a question about a liquidity pool and you felt too stupid to ask, you wouldn't ask. And the CyberKongs were like these, pardon my French, slightly techie, nerdy side of things, where I was like, man, these people, they understand this at a different level, and the community is so warm and welcoming, and I wanted to be a part of it. Nothing against Bored Apes, like nothing against them. I have many friends that are apes. It's a different community. And I just happened to really vibe with the CyberKongs community in a way that I did not vibe with the ape community.
Gotcha. That's super interesting. Well, a lot of people, I think, Bored Apes has this like aura around them, and a lot of people, especially people who aren't in this space at all, that's the only project a lot of people know about. And so Bored Apes has this aura around them. And what I've noticed, I've spoken to a lot of people who have Bored Apes who are like in the Discord, and they're in the know, and they're like, yeah, it's just a normal ass Discord. They're like, it's not like there's like, I don't know, like weird rituals going on and stuff. It's just like a normal Discord. And some people just don't vibe with that type of community. The people in there are important. And it's like, it's not like it's bad. It's just some people vibe in other communities. So, CyberKongs has built up quite the fucking reputation. You guys have quite a crazy, crazy big backing from some big, big people. I know Alex and Elio are huge proponents to CyberKongs. But Inverted, I would love to hear, are you an OG minter? I know Henry said he wasn't, but are you an OG minter? Have you been here since the start?
Yeah, so I originally found the project when Mio was macro uploading them via OpenSea contract onto OS the first time. So back in the day, there were no like stat sites. There wasn't any floor price, sites. The stats have come a long way, thankfully. But so I started in CryptoKitties back in the day as far as NFTs, and a little bit before that, kind of trading the tri-coins of Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. And, just following that wave, found CryptoKitties, didn't even know they were NFTs at the time, honestly. But anyways, I got to OG minting and had just been watching the OpenSea activity page. and Mio was doing his uploading and was looking through them the first day, and found 777 and 888 were my first two purchases. Came back the next day. Yeah. So that's why, I'm a big numbers guy. So got to follow the numbers.
Yeah.
But came back the next day, like another 100 had sold. I think I was maybe the 8th person to buy a CyberKong.
Bro, respect. That is wild. That is crazy. And you've held, dude. Have you held? Wow, English. Have you held any of them from like that day? Are there any still in your wallet?
Yeah. So I believe I originally minted 10 throughout the 3 days, and then between like the original minting and when Genesis first popped over like the 5E mark, I had basically like traded shit coins, other NFTs, whatever, to another 4 Jennies. So at max, I've had a total of 14. I had I'll say a reverse bet with my son's mother that, Banana hit $10 for the first time. I'd give her a Jenny Kong. So, of course, that happened down to 13. And over the time, I've sold 2, one at 20 and one at 100. So other than that, still hold 11.
Wow, that's impressive. And you walk into fucking Walmart and people don't even know that you got 11 CyberKongs in your wallet. That's like the best. It's probably got to be like one of the best memes I've seen when they're like, they don't even know I have this NFT in my wallet or that NFT. It's crazy how many people don't even know about the NFT space. And then when you're in the NFT space, you literally think everyone knows about it. And then like when you're walking outside, like no one knows. Like even like the biggest celebrities in NFTs, nobody knows them. And it's fucking crazy. Like we're so early. And I was going to jump into another question here, but I have a decent question actually in the chat here that I want to bring up that I was interested to hear what you guys had to say. Michael is the name. Do you guys have any advice for anyone who's trying to bring back a failed NFT project back to life? I don't know if he means like one of those where the community takes over. For me, it's hard to see that happen when an NFT project rugs or something and then the community takes over. I feel like it's very rare that those end up doing anything long term. Do you guys have any advice?
Get it, Henry. What's your thoughts first?
Yeah, I mean, I think first off, I know that that's a difficult task. So let's just be very realistic. It's not easy to breathe life back into a project, which, and I'm not circumventing the question, I'll come back to that. It just goes to show how special the projects are that have made it through multiple cycles, because it takes a lot to get to that point. So with that being said, to breathe new life into a project, I think it has to be really organic. And I think a lot of it revolves around either volume for your particular project. I used to say community, but now everybody feels like, hey, my community is the best community. So I don't think that alone is enough to revive a project. I think it's probably a combination of strategic partners and getting some eyes on your project to be able to create volume. And I'm not going to lie, it's difficult. Instead of pretending like, oh, just build a great community and people will come. It takes a lot right now.
Build it. That doesn't float anymore. You can't feel the dreams of that shit.
That's a great way to put it. You've got to be offering something unique and different. Otherwise, if you've already failed, it's almost like, why is somebody going to come to your project when you've already shown that you don't have what it takes to be, let's say, successful? By the way, I know what I just said sounds really crappy, but that's the reality of how difficult this space is. Look at Azuki, right? Look at what happened with Azuki. You could argue that that recent FUD was because of 2 or 3 prior failed projects. But the reality is, it is difficult to catch that lightning in a bottle. It has to be the right idea at the right time, and it's a difficult space to be wandering through, because we're always having to adapt to what's new and what's relevant.
I feel like he was walking further and further away as he finished that sentence.
Oh, I was trying to walk away from a ringing phone. I was just saying it's a difficult space to navigate, because you're constantly having to adapt, and I kind of feel like you get like one shot at doing it, and once you've taken that shot, I realize how difficult it is to breathe life back into a project right now.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because people just move on to the next.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I
that's the
think
difference is you got to focus on flippers and community members and builders. And I mean, you have to admit that they all exist in the space, and you have to understand how to either convert them, capture them, or kick them, to be frank. It's one of those where, as much as I hate to put it, like you gotta, I mean, flippers are gonna flip, right? And if you
yeah.
like, I mean, Kongs, for example, we try and do a no hype deliver only policy where we're not doing announcements about upcoming announcements so that floors pump and things like that. And to be
Mhm.
frank, some people don't like it, but you know, a recent example of like our P&K launch with the V2 banana upgrade that we basically had to put through the DAO was the only time I'll say that we've ever done like an announcement of what was coming and exactly what happened, right? Like you see a
Yep.
steady rise up until the announcement, and then boom, charts cash out, which again, like happens, and that's we'd much rather have it happen then than, you know, it take a couple months of people going, what's going on, what's happening, and as they slowly attrition out. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just part of the market right now. But to directly answer the question, sorry, I know I kind of veered away from that. As far as bringing back like a failed NFT project, personally, I think we've moved past the level of where an NFT project can almost only be an NFT project. You either
Mhm.
need to transform it into a brand, a product, a service, something that has not necessarily like IRL tangible benefits, but more than likely
Yeah.
we're getting past the point of where people want just art.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. And I remember way back in the day, I had talked to I think I had reviewed CyberKongs and I had brought this up. I was like, I wonder what direction they're going to take it. Because I was like, if it's just the CyberKongs pixel art, it's just the art and it's just the hype that the influencers have, this will fade. I was like, they have to do something innovative. They have the banana token. What are they gonna do to build this brand? But you guys have really maintained pretty. I mean, to have a 25 or 30 ETH floor is no easy feat at all. That's pretty ridiculous just in general. What do you think has been the main reason that people stuck around, especially like OG people like yourself, OG people who've been in the space for a long time? Why were they able to hold through all the bear and the bull markets?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at least for me, I know one of the big things is, you know, being on the council has the bit, you know, behind the curtain aspect, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
understand what's going on in the future, what the plans are, where we're trying to take the brand on a deeper kind of core level. And part of, you know, our mission and challenge is translating that to a Web3 as well as a Web2 community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we started as, you know, a COVID relief project, to be frank, from Mio, which then
Wow.
transformed into a community, which then transformed into a project, which then transformed into a community, which is now transformed into a brand. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like the constant flexibility that's been required is really, I think, you know, a big part of it.
Yeah. Just to add to that, I think one of the reasons CyberKongs is so special is, you know, we've shown what we're capable of doing. If you look back to the summer of 2021, we sort of set the bar, not the only project, but we sort of set the bar for how a utility token can be used in Web3. So I think people saw that we really innovated. Again, Hashmasks was maybe the first to have a utility token to be able to rename
Mm-hmm.
your hash mask, but it never really caught on the same way Banana did.
Name
And
change token.
yeah, and so like Kongs were able to show like, hey, here's a utility token. It's the fuel for our ecosystem. We used it to create our second collection. Everybody that got a Genesis or a Baby Kong got a VX Kong, and then you started to see all of these projects launching with a utility token, with metaverse interoperability, or at least some sort of metaverse. You know, if it's a VX being dropped to their holders. So I think
The
what
name
people
VX.
the name VX, which we sort of,
Yeah.
you know, came out with. And I think our holders understood that the way we saw the space was different. We are not Yuga Labs. We were a different type of NFT project in Web3 that is, to say anti-hype. I know a lot of people are like, well, you need some hype. Well, of course,
Yeah.
at the right times. We don't ever want to overpromise and underdeliver. So I think our holders have recognized like we are working on a ton behind the scenes. Like, and a massive amount behind the scenes, and I think people understand that pretty soon they're going to start seeing us deliver on those things. And going back to what Inverted said, of course, like there's so much we want to talk about. There's so much we want to tell people, but we also know that there's a lot of responsibility being on the council and making sure that when we say something is going to happen, that it does happen. And so we want to be really cautious about when we say things because, man, I had no idea, and I own a business in real life. I had no idea how much is involved in putting things together in Web3. It's a lot. There's a ton of moving parts. And so it takes this kind of dance between projects to make sure that everything is working out for all parties involved. And I think soon people will see that the last 6 to 8 months we've been working on some really cool things, and we're building out this ecosystem in a really cool way.
Yeah, and I think to also kind of more directly answer your question as far as like why an OG would hold this long through, we'll say, the up and the down, is a lot of it comes down to, I think, the future views on IP as well. Like, I think we're all letting people, if it's one of those where like the OGs of the industry originally came in and are still here, and we're not the loudest, right? Like, it's one thing I've always said is like, you think about Twitter noise, Insta noise, all of the noise, right? It's the people, the type of people typically that Kong's attracted in the beginning, as well as like the builders and like just those type of people. Now they're not the flexers in the space that are just loud to be loud. The Genesis was 10% of the collection. So I think the people who realize like what we were building, that we were building first rather than talking about it and then building it, they've just kind of come to respect that and like to stick around.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's hard to know what that feels like unless you've been part of a Genesis collection. Like I was part of I had minted a Genesis Ugaverse, which is another NFT. It's like an ape pixel art. And I've held it for a fucking long time. And I could have sold multiple times to the top of a bowl. And it was just really hard. I just really like it. I got some kind of sentimental value and it's hard to sell. But I really, really want to talk about this because I have you guys on. And this is a rare opportunity for me to ask from an OG project. There's a huge difference between kind of like coining the term VX, coining the term, and kind of like starting the trends. It's just hard. Like how does a project actually start a real trend that takes and actually works? Because in NFTs, I feel like everyone just puts out their idea and then they just cross their fingers and say, I hope this takes. I hope people accept this. If they do, we're literally going to go to the moon. If not, we're going to get shit on. But you guys were able to start off some massive trends that literally changed the entire space. I mean, everybody has companion projects. Everybody has baby versions of the NFTs now. What was it about those ideas? And like, how do you even know how those ideas came about? Like what those conversations were in the beginning?
Yeah, so I mean, to be frank, the breeding thing is obviously not new in comparison to like crypto kitties. For tokens, that is like the added, we'll say, complexity. So I don't want to discount, or try and claim anything that we're not. But I think, it's one of those where I'll say most of it's kind of accidental. Like even the term VX was just a placeholder for us that was short for voxel. And we had gotten out. I'm sorry?
I said you accidentally started a whole movement.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but it's things like that, and just trying to be, I mean, not saying that we don't obviously look at what the rest of the market is doing. But at the same time, we're trying to look at what's actually beneficial for tomorrow rather than today. So, like during I'll say this latest mini bowl, whatever, drops and claims and things like that were like the instant payout that people wanted for hype and volume through a project. And that was something, our delivery was P&K, play and collect. Not everybody was excited about that. There's obviously tons who are, but there's always going to be parts of your community that, regardless of what you're doing as a content creator like yourself, to an NFT project like us, there's always going to be people who don't agree, and you can't always make everyone happy. So like, as much as I hate to put it that way, especially in the Web3 space, I think everyone is quite a bit more, genuine, accessible too, which also kind of like blurs the lines of, what's going on and what should be going on and who has a say where on what, which kind of makes it a fun adventure though, too, as far as going into Web3 and how to branch that value.
Okay, I'm going to be a little more direct with that answer because I know Inverted in real life, and he has a lot of humility. Good dude. And keep this in mind, I'm the newest member of the Council of Kongs, so I went as from a holder to a moderator to community manager to the council. So I have a different perspective because Inverted was always there from the beginning and from the formation of the council. The reason that I think we have come up with innovative ideas and that a lot of what we've done has been successful is because I don't think it's often in Web3 that you get a dream team together that consists of a fire artist like Mio, a giga brain like Coco, a contract writer like Owl, back end guys like Lixie, Clumsier, Svenstar, Sebs, and then the front facing crew like Inverted and myself. And obviously, there's been other council members that have contributed in a lot of ways. But this lightning in a bottle that I talk about, I think it starts with having an amazing team. And these guys, I don't even put myself in that same equation, but those guys saw something, an opportunity in Web3 to do something different. And I think we as holders were fortunate that they vibed together and that they were so darn talented to be able to put this together. And I think that's the reason why what CYBERKONGZ do has been different and that it's stuck. I think it starts with the people that are behind it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that's so key. It's even like hard to grasp for some projects, I think, because a lot of new projects, well, there's just so many projects now, and I think everyone's got kind of a lot of variations of like the same idea that they want to work on. It may be harder for them to find like the most high quality of people to work on the team. How did y'all even like I guess how did you get on the team, Henry? But like how do people get involved on a Web3 team? I know it's probably a little bit of a different story. Back in the day, like with the OG, I remember when I got in, I think in like June of last year, it was a entirely different industry. But how do people get involved? Like, how do you work your way up?
Well,
Henry, that's a you, man. That's a good you.
Yeah, honestly. So I worked my way up by being very active in the community. That's how it really started. I didn't actually set out. I mean, don't get me wrong. I talk frequently about the roles you get in Discord, and in a two-dimensional space like Discord, those are the certain things that set us apart. So I look to the moderators as like, oh, dude, you're a moderator in Kongs. I think that's awesome because I valued that ecosystem so much. So I wanted to make sure that because I believed in Kongs, that I was always portraying Kongs in a positive light. And I was always, very active in Discord. I tried to be as helpful as I could. And I met Inverted in person at NFT NYC last year. I came just as a holder to hang out with everybody.
Cool.
I became a moderator, and as a moderator, I just upped my game a little bit more. And let's be real, any successful Web3 project needs people that can help. There's just so much to it. You need people to help take the load off. Our moderators are amazing holders that just dedicate their time. We're volunteers, as is the council. And so I think, we get asked this a lot, like, how do I make my way up the chain in Web3? Be a part of it, be an active part of the community, and make no mistake, you'll get noticed. If you're active, if you're helpful, if you can put good content and good vibes out there, the team will notice. And at some point, your number just might get called. And I was fortunate that my number got called. And when it did, I tried to put like 120% into it.
Yeah. Wait. Tell me what that was like. Was it a DM? You just like were chilling in the bathroom, like on the toilet, and you're just like,
bro,
oh my god.
Were you stalking me? Were you stalking me? That's honestly,
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah, I was actually in my bathroom. I honestly I was in my bathroom. I'd taken a shower. I checked my phone, and Mio had DM'd me. Mio's our founder, of course, and Mio DM'd me, and he had said, "Sir, do you want to be a moderator?" That's when
Oh my God.
and I was like, I remember I called my brother. I was like, "Dude, I'm going to be a moderator in Kongs." And I was so happy because that was on my list of things like I wanted to accomplish. And it was maybe 2 or 3 months later that Inverted called me up one night, and he just was kind of putting the feelers out there, and the council had obviously talked about it and asked if I was interested in community manager, which of course I was. What I didn't ever expect was to ever, like, never did I think council was even part of my roadmap, because that seemed like I just never thought that'd be anything I'd be a part of. And when I say I didn't care if I was, I never even thought it was an option. So yeah, when they asked if I would join the council, that was beyond, like, I know it sounds weird, like, but that was beyond a dream come true for me. I believe in this project to a degree that I've never believed in any project, and I was really stoked when they asked.
Wow, man, what a story! I've got like goosebumps right now, just like thinking about like something like that. Because I remember when I had first started YouTube, I think I had like 800 or 900 or maybe 1,000 subscribers at that point, and I put out a video. By the way, this is an example for anyone out there who's not sure if they should make the video. Should I take that little small jump? It's probably less scary than you think to shoot your shot almost and just to continue doing that. But I put out a video called "Questions I Have" for, they were called Space Apes at the time, still not Ugaverse. And I just made a video and I just basically said, here's a bunch of things that not I have issues with, but I just have questions about. I'm a holder. I really like the project. I just want to know, like, and so I made the video basically directed towards the team. 2 days later, the team reached out and said, "Hey, we got a proposition for you." And then that went on to me coming onto the team and kind of helping out. And that was literally my launch pad into Web3. That gave me a full time in. And I was able to focus on YouTube and creating content and helping out in Discord and learning. And I got to see what it was like to work on a team. You know, you got people in Germany, there's people in Africa, like all these people in different parts of the world. And they're like, "Hey, we're going to meet at 2 p.m. UTC." And then like an hour before, they're like, "Hey, we totally messed that up. We're actually meeting in 13 hours. My bad." And it's just like all these things. I remember it was such a fun time though to kind of experience it and to just be part of it. You know, experience you can't really replace that with anything else. But for anyone listening, if you want to get involved in a project, you're probably just going to need to put yourself out there. I think a lot of people are in the same shoes as you, where you're like, I want to be in, I just don't know how. And so you kind of just sit there and like hope someone will reach out. But they didn't reach out to Henry just because he was in there. He's putting in work. I mean, he's on the toilet in Discord, and then he gets to the DM. Like this is how it goes. You have to put in the work. And I think you're right. You can, if you're in there and you're actually showing your face and your name, I think people are probably going to be surprised at who actually will see your stuff. You know, I've been in multiple Discords where I was just talking and then the founder pops in for 10 seconds and I'm like, whoa, what just happened? And so I think that's a little bit underrated for getting involved in Web3.
You want to know something? I just saw somebody's comment where they said being a mod is cool, but unless they send me ETH, it's just extra work, LOL. And like, that's totally true. At the same time, you know, Web3 is almost like, you look at, I'm going to use a baseball team as an example. So like if you're a big fan of, I'm a Red Sox fan. So if you're a fan of the Red Sox, the Bat Boys are not paid. They're there because they want to be close to the team. They want to be in on the action, and they get compensated in different ways, whether it's maybe they hear about something early, or, you know, maybe they get invited to work a booth at an event, or whatever the case may be. It's just something where there's a lot of people where money is not the driving factor of being involved with the team. They feel like they're in something really early, something that's really special, and that we're pioneering something that we think is really going to revolutionize the way people in the world communicate with each other and the way we value collectibles and things like that. So I think there is, to a certain group of people, so much more to this space than just the money. I'll be real. There's a lot of money involved in this space.
Yeah.
But
I say I'll take the more direct point from the business side. And you know, if you want to look at the pure financial literature of modding, you can look at it as investment into that community for positions that you're interested in.
Agreed.
I mean, just like if you know where the CEO and we'll say all of an executive team and all the hiring managers of any Web2 company go for coffee every morning, I mean, it's on you if you don't go there for coffee every morning as well and bump into them, right? Like that's, and you're trying to work there. So that's kind of like almost what the Discords I feel like give opportunities to in Web3 that don't typically exist in Web2. I mean, especially in Kongs, but I know a lot of Discords, like you mentioned, you pop in there, have some comments, and like we all read stuff. We're interested in like basically consumer feedback, like our holders, like they are family, like we care. We're all volunteer here on the council, and I know a lot of founders basically do it for free for the most part, especially during a bear, when volume's not necessarily great or
feels like a little
anything
desert
like that.
Discord. Sometimes you're just like, man, haven't seen a message here in a few hours, fam. Where y'all at?
Yeah.
But and honestly, that point where he brought up, he said being a mod is cool unless they send me ETH. It's just extra work. It's something that I think has kind of left my generation. I'm 23, but I grew up with a kind of like a blue collar mentality toward just do shit and just like see what happens. And so I've always understood the idea of working for free if it gives me an opportunity. I've just looked at it as an investment in myself. I know you said it's kind of an investment in the brand. I think it's also an investment in yourself too. If you're looking to work in Web3, you need fucking stuff on your resume. You can't just be like, I want to work here because I'm ready. I know this stuff. You're like, really? What have you done? You're like, well, I haven't done anything. But if you're like, I've been a mod for 14 projects, I've done this, I've tried community managing, I helped organize these things. Here's the experience I have. Here's someone you can talk to about it. Whole different ballgame. If someone approached me and they're like, hey, we want to, I saw your Discord. I know you're not a project, Cade, but I just want to do a little bit of Discord help. I've had this much experience. I've worked in these projects. That's a way better proposition than him just saying, hey, I have nothing and I just want to help, totally different.
It's not 2021 anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just how it goes. You gotta work for free sometimes. I don't know why that's such a hard concept. For me, it's easy. Like when you're a photographer, like I used to, when I first got into photography, I did so many things for free. And I remember photographers would yell at me. Some of my friends, they're like, why are you doing things for free? It devalues our work. I'm like, I have to earn my way up. I can't just charge $500 because I'm a photographer. I was like, I have to get stuff and like actually become a photographer. I think if you want to be someone who works in Web3, you have to kind of work your way up. And that probably starts with working for free, or maybe you get a free mint, or maybe, you just get some free information. But I would love to hear this, what your thoughts are on what exactly Web3 even means. Like everyone throws around Web3. NFT is Web3, but like, what does Web3 actually mean? What is that? What is that? What is it?
Henry, that's a you first.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So like,
no, I'm kidding. Yeah, go ahead, take it off.
Yeah, to me, Web3 is using the blockchain. Okay, specifically, Web3 to me is any integration of the blockchain. Okay, so whether it is strictly like buying Ethereum, Matic, whatever, that's Web3. But if I'm explaining Web3 to somebody, it's really the entire ecosystem of Web3, which brings in the collectible side of things. It brings in the community side of things. And at some point, it's really going to be the IRL experience of Web3. I'll use VCon as an example because Inverted and I just came from VCon. VCon to me was an amazing exhibition of Web3, of a community that started on the blockchain that migrated to Discord so they could kind of all be together and talk about their cool community and what they got going for them, and then had this massive event that involved other communities held at a football stadium. And it was really, to me, one of the first times we see that at Kongs events, right? Like at a smaller scale, how a community in Web3, using the blockchain, using our collectibles, can all coalesce around a really cool idea. But at VCon, it was scaled up to a degree that I was like, oh, this is going to be massive. When you think of the Fly Fish Club, when you think of, whether it's a professional sports team using tickets, NFTs as a means to ticket or as a means to distribute tickets to their fans or to their season ticket holders and give them new experiences. I think Web3 will truly bring new experiences that we haven't seen before in ways that we don't even fully comprehend yet.
Mm-hmm. Anything from you, Inverted? Any tag-ons, or was that pretty much spot on? Oh, he may have stepped away.
He's still thinking. He's like, man, that was such a good explanation. I can't even add on to it.
Because it was so perfect. So I saw this thing earlier today. It was like an email newsletter thing that I get, and it was talking about the Champions League final. Real Madrid played Liverpool, and it said almost 70% of the stadium tickets were fake. And I literally was like, oh,
Dude,
I was like, that literally, I was like, just tell me NFTs are going to be the future. Like, oh my God.
I remember during the playoff run, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan when it comes to the NFL. And I remember when I saw that the Bills were giving away NFTs, commemorative NFT tickets to any fans that attended the game. You know, we all have these little snippets that we've experienced in real life that have validated our experiences in Web3, right? We're like, oh, I saw there so and so is releasing an NFT. Maybe it's an artist that you like, maybe it's a musician that you like, or a sports team. But every time I see something like that, I'm like, oh, we are that much closer to mainstream adoption. And from December 2020 to where we are right now, like my mind is blown how far we've come, and we've just scratched the surface because we're still mostly dealing in collectibles. Um, Really soon, I think projects won't just be able to launch as collectibles. They are going to have some legit IRL experiences. And the projects that are already working on that behind the scenes, I think are going to be the ones that really start to be head and shoulders above the rest.
Are they going to be OG projects, you think? Projects that launch back in the summer or the fall or something like that? Or you think new projects are going to be able to pull that off?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a mix. I mean, Gary Vee has said, 99.9% of all NFTs will probably go to zero. Now, when you think of that, it makes sense because we had, especially during the height of the bull, we had hundreds, if not in the low 1,000 range, of projects launching every week. And so,
Way
like,
too many. Yeah.
how many of those are sustainable? Yeah, not very many. So yes, there will be projects that come out and that absolutely do make it. But when I see how much work goes on behind the scenes with CyberKongs, it's hard for me to picture as many projects being able to adapt that quickly and line up as many partners as we have going on behind the scenes by launching, let's say, a month from now. It's hard for me to envision, even though I know it will happen. I just think it won't happen to the same degree of the projects that were early.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one thing, I guess this could be a good question for Inverted. Well, I guess for both of you, it takes not only is there so much work, you have to have like really, really competent people on the team. Like people have to be able to do their shit. Like they have to be able to like, hey, we need this to be done by Monday. Like you have to make this done by Monday. It's not like you need to make this work, and it has to be perfect. And there's a lot of people who can't make that happen. There's a lot of projects out there, project founders who really want to make it work and they really think they can, but logistically, like they're doing a startup. And for people who don't know, like I think the stats like 10%. I bet it's less. 10% of startups make it. Most of them don't, and most of them don't make it the first time. So a lot of people are going to take an L on their first project, and that's going to damage their reputation. And then we might see something Gazuki, where everyone's like, all right, well, I mean, you failed twice. Like, sorry, I don't have faith in you then. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a topic that I don't think gets talked about much because it's obviously not a fun one, is like, how do you properly fail at a project, right? So like with a startup, you can just close your doors and move on, right? Close the business, dissolve, whatever. Nobody's knocking at your door. Nobody cares. But like Web3, it's one of those where, I mean, if anything, it's like the community wants to take over and, situations like that. And I mean, I don't know what the right answer is there. I just think it's definitely an under talked about, an underappreciated topic of conversation for sure.
Yeah.
And it probably helps to be just in this, like the sleuths in Web3 are unbelievable, right? Like they will pick up everything within seconds, and the blockchain doesn't lie. And so I feel like the best way to approach any of those types of things is just with honesty. Like, come out and just say like, hey, here's the projects I was working on. I've learned from them, whatever. And Inverted and I had this conversation at VCon. Like, how can a founder? We said, hey, it's interesting that there's no panel on how can a founder exit a project. And that's because if somebody did that, their holders would consider that FUD. But at the same time, I really do think that founders should, at some point, be able to say like, okay, I did what I intended to do, and now whether you leave it to the community as a DAO or whatever the case is, I think founders should be allowed to have an exit strategy and not be tied to a project for the next 50 years. I mean, some of these people that set out to create an NFT project had no idea that it would hit and become something successful. So the time they've allocated towards it, maybe 10 times more than they ever envisioned they were going to spend.
Well, especially in the beginning. Yeah.
I was just going to say, and to hit on that too, I think that's where the difference between like a project, a community, or a brand really start to differentiate too, as far as those just thoughts of, obviously, like, you'd never hope that anything goes to zero, but as far as like how something fails, how something succeeds, I mean, like Nike buying out, the brand that they did, like, obviously their holders in the end were happy about it, I'm sure, right? But in reality, that's because it was Nike. So if it was like someone unknown that still had good plans, intentions, ideas, it could be construed as FUD. And then obviously it's a very weird thing, like I said, that I just feel like a lot of people don't talk about.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I mention something real quick? Because I'm reading the conversation that's going on, and I'm really loving the
yeah.
I'm actually digging the comments because Predex, you bring up a good point about projects. You said NFT projects are businesses. Right now, we have creators who pocketed everything and expect the community to build for free. And I think that is probably true for a lot of projects. And I think good projects are not doing that. Like, the good projects are not taking the money from the primary sales and secondary and just lining their pocket. They're actually using those funds to further the project. And Kongs, as an example, there's a reason that we have our Kongs tank. The Kongs tank is a grant that we have out there where we have a couple 50 ETH grants and a couple or a few 20 ETH grants. So, 50 ETH grant plus 10,000 banana to help build out our ecosystem.
Nice.
And in addition to that, and that's specifically our play and collect ecosystem on Polygon. But in addition, we have a group of community developers that help us out, and they get paid bounties. So I think you're totally right. I think projects that are just pocketing the money, I think those are things that people should be looking at when they're doing their due diligence, whether they want to be involved in a project. What are they doing with the funds? Are they putting themselves out there in real life? Are they going to events? Are they lining up the right strategic partners? And like in our case, are they paying people to help expand their ecosystem? And I think that's one of the things that makes CyberKongs really special, is the fact that, like, we're not saying, hey, just us. We're saying, hey, if you have a great idea, send it to us, and if we like it, we will help you implement that.
Yeah, agreed. And it looks like you've earned Predix's his allegiance, I guess. That was a great answer, honestly. And you're right. I mean, I think maybe for a time you can do it unpaid or nothing technically given back to you. But yeah, at a certain point, the best projects will reward those people in some way, shape, or form, just to show even that they're like, hey, we appreciate you doing this. We're going to give you this. Thank you for being here. It doesn't always have to be money. It could be something else. So you could give them banana token or whatever it ends up being. But to go back, you had a great point earlier about like, it should be okay. Like, this happens all the time. Bryce, he's my community manager. He's one of the best in the game, by the way. If you guys lose a community manager, you guys should definitely hit up Bryce. Any projects, but exits happen all the time in real life, and they can happen with even the best communities. And it's like and he said another thing right after, which is great. He said a Web3 culture mindset for sure. I think I agree. There's a lot of people who don't understand anything about anything in business. And so they don't, and even for me, I didn't even really consider that project founders would leave a project. Like when I had interviewed Greg Norman, he's like a serial entrepreneur. He was the CEO of Bungie or he was CEO of Jupiter Project, who launched Bungie, which is a big art project put on by Brendan Murphy, who's a super well-known artist in the traditional world. And I remember after I bought the NFT, because I was super excited. I really liked Greg. I liked everything he talked about. And now him and I are good friends. And after a while, he ended up leaving the project because he was like, I'm going to go do it again for someone else because I know what I'm doing and I'm really good at this shit. And I remember when he did that, I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. And then I was like, oh, wait, that's like a thing in the real world. Like people who build businesses go and then do it again, build another business. Like that's how they grow and they learn. And that's his brand. So yeah, for a lot of people in the NFT space, that's why I'm so big in education. That's why my channel is not really so much buy this project tomorrow, buy that project tomorrow. Like I got paid, but I'm not going to tell you. I try and make it more educational focused and see if we can like rise everybody up. Because if everyone's more educated and empowered, I just feel like that helps everyone. And maybe it doesn't give me like the best returns for subscribers wise, but I think that'll help me in the long run. But yeah, I mean, I think that's totally fine for people to leave a project as long as it's open and people are talking about it. It's not there. It's just like hidden. And we're like, okay, like I'm going to leave the project. Goodbye tomorrow.
Yes. Yep. Agree. Yeah, you must have a good following, man, because the conversation going on in here is like they're well thought out comments. And Predex, I did not think you were talking about Kongs, by the way. Your comment, I know that was a general comment being made, and a truthful one at that.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think one thing I talk about on my TikTok, especially, I try and help people kind of get the right, especially with clients. It's sometimes hard to land clients. And I think one of the most underrated things is like choosing your audience and being like, hey, this is the type of person I want to attract. I want to attract business owners. I want to attract CEOs. Well, if you want to attract those kind of people, then you making a video called top 5 projects to buy is not going to attract a CEO. He's not looking for that kind of video. And I think that's like intentionality that people don't think about unless they've been making content that's very geared toward a specific thing. But I was wondering from y'all's perspective about content creators and creating content to join a team or creating content. Like, do you guys actively go on social media to find content creators who can help in any way? Like, how does a content creator leverage their audience or leverage their stuff to kind of push into Web3 if it's not just to build their own brand?
Well, I guess we have in CyberKongs, we obviously we view a lot of the socials of people who are tagging us, on whether it's Twitter or Instagram. So we see what's going on. We're very involved in the project, so we see the guys that are or the gals that are putting good content out there, and we definitely look to those people to help us with content. So we have a group called there are Kongs creators that we can tap into based on previous content that they've made, and we can make requests to them. Hey, we're looking for this type of video, or we're looking for that type of video. Because sometimes we need something like really quick, and that might not be as easy to go through the conventional methods to do. So we're fortunate that we have an awesome group of
Web3 it.
Yeah, for real, right? Like,
that's part of where the like banana bounties come in too, as far as like if we're looking for some immediate content for something that popped up. I mean, with it being Web3, like everybody's trying to move at crypto speeds, which is always fun when you're trying to interact with Web2 companies. So it's part of that it helps us kind of, we'll say, alleviate the pressure there and add some flexibility, which has been really nice.
Hell yeah. And tell me, I really want to talk about that actually with the Web2 or like Web2, like businesses, especially ones who have no clue about anything with blockchain or really understand that concept at all. Have you guys had any trouble reaching out to people who are normal businesses, and like what kind of conversations are going on about that? Like what are y'all even talking about, I guess, if you guys have?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those where it's a lot of, I'll say, just knowledge gathering really that's happening. A lot of traditional Web 2 isn't coming in assuming they know what's going on and trying to just pilfer their wares anymore. They've seen, the couple that have done it just charging in and not gone so well. Big brands, little brands, individuals, groups, all of it. So, that's one of those where I would definitely say that the bigger players are taking their time a little bit better now, rather than just rushing in. I also assume, market sentiment plays into that a bit, with it being a bear in comparison. Like you don't see too many, we'll say, hype announcements at the current moment of, things going on or anything like that, which is always kind of funny because we're in the middle of a bear. So why wouldn't you want that, right? But
I know, right? Any thoughts, Henry?
Yeah, I think to that point, the idea of, let's say the hype FOMO mentality, I think we are, especially in this bear, we're starting to see more and more Web 2 based companies. I hate even saying Web 2, but that's what we call it, because realistically, I was calling it Web 2.5 for a while, and then my brother corrected me, and he's like, no, this is Web 3. He's like, this is Web 3. Web 3 is the integration of IRL or IRL based companies into the blockchain. And I think we're starting to see a recognition by businesses or people that are, I'll use the word Web 2, but that are not involved in Web 3, starting to recognize that you don't need hype and FOMO to be successful in this space. And I think VCon, like for us, it was interesting. A lot of the projects that were at VCon were specifically every project in Pepsi Land was curated by Gary, okay? And every project in Pepsi Land had some sort of affiliation with Gary, whether he was a supporter, whether it was somebody that he helped launch, other than CyberKongs. And the CyberKongs were there because I believe Gary recognized what it is we've done in the space. And we started to see at VCon other people that were coming up to us recognizing the same thing. Web 2 companies, businesses, personalities that recognize like, oh, you guys are deep in Web 3, you're building in Web 3, and we want to come to you to help us come into the space because we think you guys know how to do it properly. So I think that's something that we're going to start seeing more of, is more businesses IRL or personalities IRL going to trusted projects for either advisory or to help with a roadmap to come into Web3. Because let's be real, like, it's not an easy space to navigate if you don't know anything about it. So it kind of only makes sense that you're going to try to find somebody who's been true to their ethos in this space to try to, you know, either get some advice from or buddy up with. And I think, I know this sounds chilly, but I think that's one of the things that, even though there's a lot of people that wish we would be more vocal and be screaming louder and this, that, and the other, I think our way is what works for us. And I think it can work for other people too. Let your product speak to let your product speak to what you're capable of doing. And I think people will start to notice that more and more as, like, okay, right now we're kind of in the free mint stage of Web3, right? Like the last week, maybe 2 weeks or 5, I don't even know how long, has been all free mints. That's like the current meta right now. Right. I do believe in this bear market, people are going to start to value those who are actually building as the people to go to in the future.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's, man, well, a lot of things you just hit on were really interesting to me, and it kind of brought me back to something that I remember Alex Becker had said. Alex Becker is just an absolute fucking OG. I remember I watched that guy so many years ago when he would just rant and just like yell at me, like yell through the camera basically. And I was like, oh man, like this is so hype. Like he's so fucking smart. And I remember he said something, he was something along the lines of, yeah, like you have to have a good product. Like you have, like, no matter how good you are at marketing, like if for example, Grant Cardone is like one of the most viral real estate agent, investor, content creator people on earth. Like literally everyone who's in real estate knows this dude. And a lot of people hate on him. They're like, this guy's just a sellout. He's not good at what he does. I'm like, look, if he sucked, he would not be this big. He just wouldn't, because people would notice it after a while. He can do his shit. Maybe his marketing is a little annoying or it's a little over the top or whatever, and people maybe don't like it. Same with Gary Vee. Some people don't like Gary because he comes off as a little bit just like at you. But if you watch him for more than a couple days, you're going to realize it's not who he is at all. And so I think that's really important. Another thing Gary Vee or Alex Becker also says is he's like, focus on one thing and get really, really good at that, and then hit your home run when the time comes, rather than hitting a bunch of singles and then getting out at second base. You know, and that's for a lot of people in the space. I think they're trying to catch every meta. They're trying to catch the play to earn ecosystem. Then they're like, well, I gotta master this part and then that part. And what people fail to realize is there's literally so many sectors. You know, you can be all the way in on play to earn and then think you're doing everything. And then there's an entire sector over here that you're not even aware of, with all these big people who are just as important as you in the industry. And I think it's important for a lot of people that there's like room for everyone at the top. There's a lot of people at VFriends, a lot of projects at VFriends that are probably going to do very well long term. But there's also a lot of projects that didn't go to VFriends and who maybe weren't invited, who are also going to kill it in the long term. But yeah, 100%. And also another thing I saw earlier about it was kind of just like talking about Web3. And I think it's because we're in a bear market that a lot of people are starting to question things. They're like, well, I'm not sure. But I saw something there, like, we're builders in a space trying to build things that don't exist yet. So it's like, you know, working at Microsoft right when they first started, before anything, you know, Amazon before it was anything. And it's a totally different concept. How do you guys plan on kind of like navigating that? Because that's, I hear the metaverse, and, you know, Gary's talked about it a bunch of times, but he's like, we're years away from that. Like, what is there any strategy, or is it kind of like we're just kind of going day by day, kind of seeing how things go, feeling things out? Like, is there like a full strategy for the next 5 to 10 years? Like, how does a project like CyberKongs navigate that? And let me switch out my camera too. My camera's about to die, so I'm gonna switch to the FaceTime. But you guys can keep talking; I can still hear you.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, give me 1 second. I got the wee man coming out. He's a 3-year-old, so I know. But yeah, the big thing is currently staying flexible with the market and being able to have that freedom to. Operating on a council level is one of those where we, are kind of afforded that. So it makes things a little bit easier, but also its own unique challenge. But I think the big long-term thing is that, again, focusing on what actually adds value to IP, etc.
Yeah, I agree. The IP is huge. People don't talk enough about IP. I think actually most people don't understand what IP truly means as far as branding. I know Gary Vee talks about it a little bit. Do you guys want to talk about what that exactly means, especially for CyberKongs, but what the power of IP really is? Because for me, IP is most important.
Yeah, the big thing I think is, we kind of have the rare opportunities with Web3 to like reverse brand build. So the idea, you think about like the Star Wars universe and how it was first thrown at you, the experiences that you had, later with video games, board games, card games, kind of all of that.
Yeah.
It was the characters were given to you and you were told their stories already. Whereas in Web3, we're basically given the characters with no stories and freedom to do with what we want. Not only on a brand basis, but also, on a unique owner basis, having rights.
Yeah.
And part of, to the 5 to 10 year plan, which I think is really difficult for anybody right now to accurately say, like, where will Web3 be in 5 to 10 years? Because 16 months ago or 24 months ago, I don't think people knew we would be exactly where we are right now. So I think the goal that we are working towards is obviously to become a major Web3 brand. But along with that, if somebody was coming into CyberKongs and they're like, hey, why CyberKongs versus some random other mint? It's because our goal, like, we're not trying to build a metaverse. Our goal is to be in all metaverses. Our goal is for our VX Kongs to be interoperable in as many metaverses and as many games as possible. Because ownership of the IP, to your point, that's huge. Like, picture all of the gamers who right now own very little in any game that they play, whether it's Fortnite, whether it's Call of Duty, or it's certainly not something that you can pick up and take to another game.
Yeah.
And we think Web3 is going to allow for actual ownership of in-game items, actual ownership of skins that you can take across platforms. So we're betting on that future of gaming, and we think if we take that combined with just having a really cool collectible that's been based on on the tech that we're playing with and the expansion of that tech through our own ecosystem, like through Play and Collect, and through other games and metaverses, we think that's a recipe to be able to sustain in this environment. And that also like involves things like clothing, things like, I say clothing, I know that sounds so bland, but there are all types of elements in being a brand, and it's not just having an NFT. There's a lot that goes into that, and we want to be a name that anybody who knows about Web3 5 years from now knows that CyberKongs were a part of and that we were a part of from the very beginning. So having that brand identity is really, really important to us, and it's something that we're working really hard on right now.
Hell yeah, yeah. That's a great point, and you said a lot of good shit there, actually. I'm interested to know what you guys were doing before Web3. Like, what were you guys doing? What was like a day to day, and also, I guess what first to try. I know I asked that in the very beginning, like how you got into it, but like, what was the actual reason you got into Web3? What was it that kind of interested you? Was it the crypto before? Was it just interest in building, or was it like trading pictures? Was it the gambling aspect?
I was a high school dropout, and I went into the military. I was in the U.S. Coast Guard when I was 17. I got out, was in construction, and long story short, I inverted and I joke about it, but it's true. I say I rug people for a living. I have a flooring store in real life.
Oh,
and so that's why we kind of joke about it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
funny.
prior to Web3, I was, in fact, right now I'm standing in my floor store doing this podcast with you. So what really interested me about Web3 was, and again, I didn't know this coming in, but what really interested me once I really came into it was that cryptocurrency was not a stock. I know it's a bad way to put it, but that it was actual technology. And I'm 39. I missed the dot-com boom.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? The more I saw of this, the more I realized that this is something that I truly believe is going to change the world. And I love being on the ground floor of it. Like anybody who's even listening right now is on the ground floor of it. We are, to me, it's like the equivalent of being in Jeff Bezos's garage when he was stacking books before Amazon ever existed, or when it
Mhm.
was really, really small. I think we're the pioneers, all of us here, and
Let's
I
fucking
think
go.
we're going. Right, dude? Like we are going to be looking back. I believe this in 10 years, looking back to this very podcast, going, "Oh, dude, do you remember when we did that podcast?" Because, like, no doubt, bro, we're gonna see each other at events, and we're gonna
Oh
do
yeah.
more podcasts with you, and we're gonna be like, "Remember 10 years ago when we were talking about this stuff?" And now look where it's at. I believe that wholeheartedly, and that's why I give so much
100%.
time to it.
Yeah, yeah, that's gonna be really cool. I hope to see you guys at NFT NYC, because that's gonna be a. I think it's gonna be great. I hope it's gonna be crazy. I have no. I missed the last one, but man, I'm really really excited about that. How about you, Invert? How about what you were doing like before the Web3 verse?
Yeah, so my pre-Web3 experience is mostly in experiential marketing, which is just kind of a fancy way of saying the connecting like the big brands to the like everyday consumers.
Mm,
So everything from like Nike, Amazon, whatever, to helping them create, implement, budget, whatever, for IRL experiences, typically on more like marketing standards than we
yeah,
have like for Web3. They have like all these KPIs. They want to know how many people came through the booth, how many touch points there were, who had what complaints, who had what, whatever. Not that we don't care about that in Web3, but it's just a different ballgame.
yeah.
So a lot of my experiences, doing that, starting all the way from being the guy in a costume character suit, to helping with budgets, and then I've owned a couple businesses, sold a couple businesses, and then yeah,
Damn, that
pretty
is
much
that
been
is
an
super
event most
cool.
of my life.
He's damn good at it too. The events that the Kongs put on
Yeah.
are they're special.
Damn, that is super cool, man. That is super cool. Well, I want to ask this question because we've talked so much about business, so much about NFTs and Web3 and stuff. And honestly, this hour, I can't even for anyone watching, y'all just got the alpha on literally Web3 in general. This is like if you're trying to get into NFTs or Web3, or you're trying to convince someone to understand this stuff. This is an excellent podcast. You guys dropped so much just so much helpful information, and such a good insight to CyberKongs. But I want to ask this question about like a more personal bit onto y'all. To go back even further on my last question, what y'all were like in high school, and like what was the vibe of high school Inverted and high school Henry? And then if you want to, at least you could share something that was kind of like, I don't know, maybe like detrimental back in the day that actually isn't a big deal when you're looking back on your life. You're like, oh, that was just a little speed
Oh,
hump.
we're asking for the vulnerable side
Well,
of the.
a little bit. If y'all are off, if y'all want to, I'm down to get a little bit vulnerable.
What do you think, Henry? Are you
Yeah.
interested, or you want to
Oh,
go
dude,
first or second? You want the short straw or the long straw?
you can go first, bro. You can go first, unless you want me to.
Uh, all right. So, I mean, mine's not even really. It's not anymore, right? Like that's the fun part of kind of the question is, I've always been, we'll say, short. I'm like 5'5", like just we'll say shorter than the average dude. I grew up in Indiana, so it's one of those where it's very, predominantly just very much the same. Lots of corn, lots of nothing for the most part. So that was always probably the one thing that bothered me. As silly as it is today, like you go out throughout the world and there's all shapes, sizes, everywhere, anywhere. Like none of it actually matters as far as what somebody looks like.
Mhm.
So that's one of those things that I think is just one of those oddities, I'll say, that in high school kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
But I was more of a chameleon, kind of hung out with all the groups, but was a secret nerd on the weekends, playing D&D and role-playing
Oh,
games,
shit.
Final Fantasy, Hero
Cool.
Quest. A little bit older, I'm 36, so
Yeah. Were you able to meet any of those online friends at all in real life?
uh, for like those games.
Yeah, like was that one of those kind of games where you could actually talk to the people?
So these was back in the day when you had to get in
shit,
IRL
yeah.
with your friends to play games.
That's true. That's true.
So I was playing EverQuest when it was out, and like the launch of EverQuest 2. I mean, I was playing on dial-up gaming when that was a thing, and you had to kick mom off the phone in order to
Yeah.
actually go and play any online game. But no, all my Dungeons and Dragons was pen and paper and rolling dice and
Wow.
using the brain power.
Damn, that is super cool. Super interesting.
I was Web 1. Web 1.
Yeah. Web 0.5. That's awesome. How about you? Well, I guess no, you already shared, but I guess for me, I can share something real quick too, since you guys got vulnerable. I appreciate you guys doing that. Was super fun. For me to kind of consume. For me, yeah, I think for me, I think I was kind of like until 10th grade, I transferred. I was in a private school because my dad works there, so I got free tuition. But I didn't fit in because I wasn't actually rich. And so that was a pretty shitty like 9 years in school or whatever it was. And I definitely was getting bullied because I'm half Japanese. I was literally the only kid who was anything other than white in that entire school. And so I was like the Asian kids I get picked on. It's like, oh, that's the Asian kid who likes playing soccer, who always does his homework. That was like my reputation at Portugal. And so I remember that was just difficult to deal with. I wasn't particularly tall. I had like man boobs, and it was just like all the worst things all in one person. Especially middle school, which is like, as y'all know, middle school can be rough. All right, middle school can be rough on the psyche, and so I struggled with
It's
that for a long
brutal.
time. Yeah, and then I transferred, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna reinvent myself. I'm gonna get to the gym. I'm gonna really focus on soccer, and I kind of like try to put on this new image and kind of get through that. But I think for me, like something that sucked growing up was like getting bullied a little bit or a lot of bit for being Asian, and something that I couldn't even control. And now that I look back, it's kind of given me like really really thick skin. I can take a lot of hits because I know it doesn't matter because I've gone through all those things. And in the end, I'm a YouTuber. Like fuck all of you. Like so, it's just like it's okay, And some of the worst things in life in the very beginning, where everything falls apart. I remember in 2021, I had moved into my car to go travel the country, and I was like, I'm good. I got all this crypto. It's going up. Man, 2 weeks into the trip, everything crashed overnight. You guys remember that?
Would this have been like would this have been like end of spring, give or take?
No, no. This is the beginning of the summer. The crypto crash, the one that happened overnight.
Yeah.
Dude,
end of spring, beginning of summer. Yeah, absolutely. You were in your
that
car
was
on a road trip,
brutal.
right?
I
Did
was
you
in a
want to throw up?
Walmart parking lot, and I remember just like pulling my Coinbase and being like, "Oh my god, wow, that's like everything I had almost." And I was like, "Well, that's not good." And I remember Journey Crypto put out a tweet, and he was like, "This is the biggest flash crash, biggest buying opportunity this season." So I was like, "Okay, well, I'll use the remainder of my money to pick up this dip. We're going right back up." And man, we just did not go back up. And so those 6 months were some of the
Yep.
roughest of my entire life, but it got me to where I am, and I survived. And I feel like it's just like stories now. When you look back in your life and you look at like the hardest things, it's literally just a story at that point after like a few years.
Yeah.
You know what? So just to add to your point, I'm Jewish and I have a weird name in real life, weirder than Henry the Great.
Weirder than
And
Henry the Grape.
weirder than Henry the Grape, and I know that feeling. I like getting picked on for something that you have literally no control over.
Yeah.
Your heritage, your name, and apparently all three of us are in the short guys club because I'm only like 5'8".
Yeah,
So
I'm 5'8" too.
there must be something that draws short people into the Web3 space, but it works. And you know what? I always yearned for that social interaction. I did not have, I wasn't like the popular kid. I didn't have a ton of friends. I wasn't rolling deep with 40 people in the jock club. And I think Web3 has really connected me with people that are they're so similar yet so different, and I love the respect that people have for each other in this space where you okay. So one of the things I often say is like it's the closest thing I've had to the military since I was in the military, that camaraderie that you have with somebody else because you share this common interest. It's the reason why I keep coming back to it, and it's something that I love about this space, and it's one of the things that I hope never changes because
Yeah.
it's my favorite part of it.
Yeah, 100%. And Savannah says we love a short king. Thank you, Savannah. We love you. But yeah, no, I agree. I think the what's interesting about Web3 that I noticed with content creation is I noticed a trend a few months ago that I talked about in a YouTube video, that I thought the trends in the Web3 space as far as projects trying to fit in very much reminded me of 2015, 2016, 2017 YouTubers on the come up. They were all kind of hot. It was like a very similar trend where something pops and everyone kind of jumps in, and then it kind of blows over, and then people find the next thing. But what I noticed with Web3 and NFTs specifically, and especially content, is that the more you're weird, the more it works. You know, like everyone who's a full-time YouTuber is weird. They either have daddy issues or they're screwed up somehow, and like that's like the good stuff. And I remember Robin Williams said that in a movie. I forget which movie it was. He was like,
The relatable.
yeah, he was like, that's the stuff where people really gel. Like that's the good stuff that you want to get into, and the weird things that make you weird in your head when you're growing up, I feel like end up becoming like the best parts of you that people think is sick. Like now I'm half Japanese, people think it's cool, and I'm like, wait, what? You know, like, and it's just times change, people mature, and yeah, I agree. I hope the NFT space doesn't change in that sense, in the camaraderie aspect. Do you guys think it'll kind of like follow like a crypto style, where in a few years there's still NFT projects launching, kind of like crypto still has coins launching every single day, but it's not as community focused because they don't have those tokens that you get for it?
I do. Yeah, I do. I hope. But yeah, I think we're going to continue to have NFTs launching. They may look a little different, but this is all cyclical, right? So like,
Yeah,
even if a whole lot of things go down to zero, just imagine what these things will look like in. I have 3 kids, so I always think of like my youngest daughter is 10. If she gets into collectibles, the things we're talking about today are going to sort of be relics of the very of the origin of Web3, and I think that people could find value in that in the same way we did for things like Mooncats, like
yeah,
Web3 archaeology. So yeah, I do think there's going to be more that come out. Whether they're ultra successful or not, we don't know. But yeah, I think we'll continue to see things like this just in different forms.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. Are your kids? Are they like trying to get a baby Kong? Are they like 10 years old and they're like
Okay.
saving up for their first baby Kong?
All right. So proud dad moment. I have 3 daughters, and my 16-year-old got a VX Kong at the top. She bought around
Woo!
40.
Oh,
No, no, no. Hey, dude, it's so good. It's a beautiful grape with like heart glasses,
okay. Let's
and
go.
she's got like a Littles, a Zen Apes. She flipped Karafuru to get her first VX
Ooh,
Kong,
damn.
and she's got a crypto bat. So like
All right.
she's in.
My God,
She's in.
we need to
My
follow this girl.
dude, she's she's awesome. My youngest daughter wants to start, but my wife is like, she's 10 and she just doesn't want her to get into the scene yet.
Yeah, 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 that's probably smart. Edward, I forget if you had said if you're a father or not.
I am. I have 2 boys, a 19-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Bro, the 3-year-old's got to be into NFTs. Tell me he's in NFTs already.
We're currently gathering his doodles for a mint later this summer. No, I'm kidding.
That is awesome. Is the
uh,
19-year-old into NFTs though at all? Is he interested?
he's interested on the gaming side. I've had him do a little bit of review for me. He's
Mm,
fresh off to uni, so
gotcha.
just kind of letting him do his thing. He's more on the creative art side, I'll say, of things rather than the like business flipping. So his interest didn't really start growing until like we'll say major news media start hitting it and things like that. And I was like, this is not the best time to be trying to get in. Like, wait for everything
Yeah,
to cave, and then we can start talking again. But
yeah, 100%.
so not super deep, but like he's got a baby Kong, and he hangs out in Discord every now and then. But
Hell yeah, that's so cool. I'm always so interested in that because I'm 23, so and I can't even imagine being married. Can't imagine having kids yet. It's just that is
so
not even in my realm. It was my scope of I can't even comprehend that. And I know there's one last question here about the utility focus, but I wanted to ask just personal questions to have both of you guys here, both fathers, both extremely awesome fathers, I assume too, I'm sure. What do you guys have for advice for anyone? Just father advice, life advice, father advice, anything like that.
Bert, you want to
Henry.
go? Oh, okay. I started young. I was Cade. I was your age when I had when my wife had my first daughter, and I w- in height love all my girls. I patience with kids, patience. Like there's no rush.
Steal
Um,
my answer.
take your
Ah,
time.
damn.
Knew
Go
I
for
should have went first.
they always say sex makes babies, and that is true. And kids are awesome. Just be very ready for them because they're They take a lot. If you're trying to do it to the best of your ability, it like takes a ton. So like enjoy life. I hear all of you young people that are traveling and you're doing awesome stuff and you're building your brands and you're doing all this amazing you're doing just amazing things, and like enjoy the hell out of that, man, because once you have kids, grounds you in a completely different way. So enjoy it, bro. Like what you're doing, and just for the record, I have enjoyed the hell out of being on your show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So what you're doing is special. I can see from your people that are engaged that they love what you're doing, and just enjoy it, because, you know, 30s to have kids, that's a good start, but like 20s, it's a little early.
Yeah. I mean, Vert, you come up with another answer while he was talking?
Oh man,
or is that pretty much it?
Patience was the good go-to. You know, I'm gonna be frank. You're probably gonna mess up the first one, so make sure you have 2.
Dude.
No.
Oh my god. That's hilarious.
No, I mean, it's one of those that like the first is scary. The second, you're like throwing them over your shoulder without a care and just like going about business as they're screaming through the
I've
store.
done this shit. That's hilarious.
Yeah, exactly, right. So it's one of those where, you know, like if you enjoy the good parts of the first, go for a second. If you still like the good parts of the second, you might as well go for like 5 to 10 or something, and like, you know,
we're not minting, bro. We're not minting. Okay.
Hey man, would you? I'd rather have like the Web3 people reproduce than. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
And you know what? You should probably make sure when you do it that whoever you're with, that you love the hell out of them, and that you've really spent the time to like work on that relationship,
right?
Because that is like equally important. It's that person should be your ride or die.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, damn, man. Well, I know there's the last question here about utility, but I feel like we hit on utility. We know utility is gonna have to be there. You can't just have the IP and the brand. There's got to be something tied to it, in my opinion. I feel like we hit on this pretty hard. I didn't know if there was anything you wanted to add to that, but for this question.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would really add is just that I feel like there's going to be at least 1 or 2 brands that go on, we'll say, the bloat factor alone, rather than, I mean, the thing that they're building is the brand, and that, I mean, is just a whole lot harder to have nothing to fall back onto. So
it's not a good way to bet on it, though. You don't want to bet that your project's going to be the one that just survives because of brand.
No. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because there's like critical mass, right? Like certain projects will hit critical mass that are built on nothing, that then have a very, very low % chance of failure just due to numbers. Yeah. So it's one of those where, you know, those will exist, but yeah, in reality, whether it's IRL, Web3, Web2, whatever, any utility in general that has, we'll say, provable value, whether it's blockchain based or not, is really what matters. I mean, again, I think we're kind of over we're here for the art phase.
And if not, like, one thing that I'm really loving about the free mints lately, I had somebody come up to me at VCon. They showed me their project and they were like, hey, here's my project. I won't name the name of it. But they showed it to me and I looked at it, and Bert could tell you every IRL activation we do, we probably get probably 15, 20 people a day per person that want to show you their project.
Right.
And it's like, if your project is not unique, then let the public decide what the value of that is. You know, don't expect to come in with something that is kind of a copy pasta of everything else and mint it for 0.05, 0.08, 0.1, and think that you're going to mint out. People are going to think it's the next CyberKong or the next Bored Ape or the next Doodles. Let the secondary decide what the value of your project is, because there's nothing wrong with launching a project that's just, hey, it's fun art. It's, you know, it's fun art. It's nothing more than that. Mint it for free. I'll make my money off of the secondary sales. That's an okay avenue to go to. I just think so many people think it's as simple as cool art with some utility that's not all that awesome, and they think they're going to mint out. I think people should really recognize that there is a ton of work. It's really when the work starts is when you mint it out. Yes, it's work on the front end, but that's really where you got to get your ass in gear. So I think people should be really cautious if they're charging on the front end to put an NFT out there, because it could be, you have good ethics. It may be really difficult for you to back out of that project without feeling like a bag of crap if you know you charged people on the front end for it.
Agreed. And huge point there. Yeah.
I'm not saying this is how it's got to be done, but Jenny's were only 0.01 to begin with.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like, from the financial side, a lot of people don't know that between March of mint out and August of VX mint, we technically operated on pretty much like a 4E budget plus royalties.
Wow.
Because the total sellout was only 10E, and 3 days after sellout, Mio donated 6E to the red8.org foundation.
Wow.
So that entire time, you know, that was anything that was done, anything that was advanced, anything that was all of it, you know, really just took it to the secondary and said, you know, you guys value it at what you want, and we'll just keep building.
That's it.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right. Hell yeah. And that dude, thank you both for this conversation. This is amazing. I am going to ask one last question, and it's going to just like as fast as possible. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I forgot to ask earlier, what does a day in the life look like for both of you guys? Like, what is it you guys do when you wake up?
Oh, a lot of times we talk to each other. Usually, like most mornings, I wake up, I work out in the morning, and then I check Discord for the 1 million pings that happened while I was sleeping.
It's stressful. It's so stressful when you wake up and you look at your phone. You're like,
oh, dude.
Oh my god!
Hoping that there's not like some fire that has to be put out or something that I retweeted incorrectly. And then usually, a lot of mornings, Inverted and I get on the phone with each other just for like maybe like a 15 to 30-minute catch up on what we got going on for the day, and then it's literally go time until okay, so I'm probably like 7 a.m. till close to 9 p.m.
Wow. Holy shit. Okay.
That's probably on average, and that's like for me pretty much 7 days a week.
Wow.
You know, I may not be in Discord that entire time, but we have a ton that's going on behind the scenes.
Like, so is it like meetings and stuff? Like you're meeting with people on the phone, like Zoom meetings, stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I was gonna say we probably have about 2 to 4 hours of meetings a day. Which, you know, you think even if you only do 15 to half an hour decompress or download for each, you're already at like 6 to 8 hours, whatever, or 5 to 6 hours, whatever. So it's, I mean, it turns into a lot. It's one of those where I take a little bit more degenerate hours. I call it my second sleep or a nap during the day. I usually sleep from about probably like 3 or 4 a.m. till about 9 a.m. Wake up with the wee one, get him up, get him off to the sitter, come back, do my stuff until about 2 p.m. Usually take a nap about now, and then
perfect timing.
Yeah, exactly. Wake up, you know, do the family thing, kids, stuff like that, and then just wrap out the day with some more degeneracy, getting stuff done.
Hell
with being international, it's one of those where sometimes you have meetings at 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. So.
It is crazy, and props to you guys for always coming through, and also thank you guys both for coming on. Henry, this was great having you on too. I didn't even know you were going to be in here until a few minutes before, and I was like, hell yeah, let's get the guy on.
Dude, thanks for having us. I didn't know I was coming either. Actually, I thought I'd be listening to Vert on the speakers at my store, just kind of hearing how it went down. And I'm super stoked that we were able to be here, because this was a fun time.
Yeah, man, hell yeah. And Inverted, thank you so much for your time. I'm so glad we got to talk. This was great. This was so amazing, and I'm happy for everyone who got to listen, especially live, because this was a super great opportunity to learn about NFTs, Web3, really get to go into like really behind the scenes of like what it takes to make it. I mean, it's hard to make it out there. So I appreciate both your time.
Yeah, you got to come on our, you know what, like next time we're running the spaces, come up on stage, man, say hello, and love to, keep this relationship going. You're a great guy, and you got a great perspective on these things. So thank you for having us in your home.
Hell yeah.
Love the energy, sir.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome. Well, I'm super excited to do that. I'm sure I will see you guys at NFT NYC. Maybe we'll get a little part 2 in person. Who knows what will happen? And thank you, everyone, for being in here live. If you made it to the very end, I want to see code word. You guys already know. Code word, if this is not your first podcast with me, OG. I want to see OG in the chat. If this is your first episode, y'all, I shouldn't even have to say this. Code word is ooh. Y'all know. Exclamation mark before the ooh, as always, as the degenerates do in this space. So I appreciate us all being here. Click that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel. I have both their Twitters and the CYBERKONGZ Twitter linked in the description below. So make sure you guys give them a follow if you guys enjoyed this podcast. This was so much fun for me. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Until next time, continue on your Joyage, continue to learn, and be grateful for your life watching this video. 3, 2, 1. Is that the right one?